Okay, and we're live. Hello, good evening, everyone. There's a little checkup, please let me know in the chat. You can hear me well. Okay, if you are still here, basically we took a bunch of minutes in order to wait for everyone. Okay, anyone here? Just give a sign you're here and you can hear me well. Okay, so that looks good. We are all set. Just check the video. Okay, so looks like we're good to go then. Again, welcome for our today's session. So, since our current coding assignment is in progress, Dan will be mostly focusing on the question that is left in our Q&A thread. Previously, I encouraged you to use the thread to leave the questions in advance, so we'll be covering them first. Of course, you can still use our chat to ask me something, right? But in that case, I'm not sure I could give you a detailed answer if you would like to know more. So if you would like me to have a walkthrough or overview, whatever you would like to know, for me, like to have a little coding session, more maybe, right? It could also be an option. Then I would encourage to use threads. So, and just in case I created the next one for our next session, in case you miss it, because previously I haven't created it then once. So I assume that you might be missed or it could be clear. But anyways, let's agree again. That's we would utilize threads for giving a question for our next session if you would like to have a more detailed look. And also, I keep monitoring like your messages when you tag me or you chat me in private. So I try to answer as quick as I can, but I have like quite limited access to personal devices during the work time due to working in a secure perimeter. But anyways, let's keep in touch. Put me in a direct communication if you'd like to know the answer. So just in case, a quick checkup here. For entering questions for Q&A little in advance, for example, on the weekend or whatever is more convenient for you, yes. Already created for the next session. So you could use the thread to start collecting. So just in case not to forget. Or it could have like left your question. Well, I just renamed the existing one, so you could have lived here. But anyways, if you have something that you would like me to showcase, so you can in the meantime write a question, so we could focus on what was already left. Let's probably start with this one, and then we'll see what we have next. Basically, those are good questions. So, and I leave a bunch of links also for referring to it while answering. Let's have a look. So, the Angular side presents an interesting user experience for switching between roads. So basically, if I understood correctly, so it relates to like the animations, right? Whenever we click between the nav items, so we see the smooth transition, and also the progress bar whenever it comes like to loading something extra. So I believe like question is related to it. So, if I understood correctly, this is implemented through the view transitions and scrolling settings like scroll position restoration in the application. But I don't understand how to make such an animated loading bar. Okay, so first of all, the scroll position restoration is not something that is used, as I see, because if we check the purpose of scroll position restoration, so it says like it's being used when getting back browser navigation, right? So it is not applied whenever you navigate to some link since the purpose is quite different. So assuming that you scrolled till some position on the current road, you go somewhere further and then decided to go back. So you click the back button. At this point, if the position restoration is set to enabled, it means that it will restore the previous scroll position on back browser navigation. It also can accept disabled, which is set by default, or top if you would like to set this scroll position to the top on all navigations. So we already concluded this is not what we're looking for, right? Then what we can do. So first of all, regarding the animations, this is basically not a part of our course because this is something that's, to be honest, used quite rarely on production. But in case if you have some enhanced look and feel, right, you would like to provide more smooth animations to your element, it is possible through the animation syntax. There is the dedicated API in Angular, and will not cover within this course, but I will leave the links to all the materials that we've covered during today's session. I'll just give you a quick overview for at least for some entry understanding, right? Here is like the reference of like the keyframe CSS animation to understand the principle which Angular follows when you create the animation using Angular. So basically, the idea is pretty the same, like to define the key points of our animations or keyframes and which state it has. And also we control how the states have been changed, like with which timing function, which delay should be used, and so on. So basically, same goes to the Angular animations. So, and it is like used. Let me find the reference. Okay, so maybe not in this file. Okay, let me try another one. So I'm just trying like to have, okay, yes, probably that's what I was looking for. Yeah. So if you look here, you can define your own animations on the component level. And yeah, it would be quite hard like to utilize our today's session to have a full understanding of how it works, right? So it has like quite verbose styling because you need to define all the states, right? So in the same way as was shown you previously with keyframes, pretty the same, like you define a state. So in that case, we could identify two states, open and closed, and the rules which will apply the transitions between those two states. So the style could include like other CSS animations or other properties. But yeah, this is how the Angular animations are defined. And if you would like to use it in your template, use the following syntax, which looks pretty similar to property binding, but it has a symbol at the beginning, which indicates the animation name. So, and basically, when we provide the custom animation, we can bind any expression to it, like whether it's like open or closed, or the state could be even non-binary as well. So it's quite powerful tool to create the custom animations. So we'll leave a link like for your reference, and basically pretty the same comes with rotor animation. So it has pretty much the same syntax, and you could either utilize the approach that comes like with component animations, or you could also use the guide and use either like the CSS like animations for specifically for routing. And both do guides will help you to understand more on Angular animations. Why I covered the component animation, because it can also help you to style ngIf, since if you know, like, the ngIf directive is a structural one, and and it utilizes like the ng template in order to wrap the content and either add or remove this from the DOM. And in case if you deal with like removing or adding the elements to the DOM, it's makes quite difficult to animate it, because you can animate purely with CSS the elements that are present in the DOM. So then Angular animations comes to the rescue in case if you need to deal with them. And for rote animations, you can utilize the guide, which basically enables like the view transitions, and we could animate our page transition using the configuration. So it provides the snippet for router module in case if your project is written on ng modules, and also there is the function for standalone approach that will help you to configure the router transitions. Basically, this is the first part, giving the transitions. I'll not like get through it in details, but rather to give you an overview how to get started, so that you can discover it by yourself, right? And be able to utilize the knowledge for your purposes. But again, this is like out of course, and just for your curiosity, and for the awareness that Angular provides you the tools. How can you do that? That was the first part. And if you also paid attention whenever we did the transitions, we can observe like the progress bar that appears on the top whenever we do the navigations. How can we do that? Basically, the most apparent and the most easiest solution that you can do, you can subscribe to router events. Since you know, like in scope of the router task module, you already encountered what are the router events, and you can subscribe to it, listen to what's happening here. And basically, this would be your great point to start. Since whenever you do the navigation, I could presume like the loading bar appears on the top whenever you deal with lazy loaded modules, if they are not yet loaded or cached. So that's could be useful. What we can do in our case, regardless of whether we'll be eventually navigated to the target route or not, it always emits the navigation start, right? So that would be your entry point whenever it comes to a track, whenever the navigation has started. So you could initiate your progress bar with like some starting value, or you could make it accepting the percentage, right? So this will be the trigger to start. And then you can identify the key points of router events that will update your progress bar. All right. So assuming that whenever we pass the guard checks, we could like set to 30%. When like the activation end or resolve end, we could set 80%, and navigation end means like we made it till like 100%, or in case if we have error, to catch it accordingly. So yeah, the most apparent solution would be to have the service that will control, or any storage for your component, for your progress bar component, that will be located at the top of your page. What you'll do, you'll subscribe to router events, filter out the key ones that is required for your for your key points in your progress bar, right? And then update the state accordingly, and make your progress bar component subscribe to your state. So I see this one as the most easiest way. How can you achieve the behavior you're looking to? Like when we take like the Angular documentation as an example. So if you're very curious about how it could be implemented, then it's could be a good way to start with what I showcased to you. So hope here we are clear. And I also hope we are clear with scroll position restoration, since it's like not a part of our implementation, so it has quite different purpose. The same goes for can deactivate. The most common use case of why would you use connect deactivate is whenever you have some unsafe changes of user input, and you would like to make him sure that a user is surely want to leave the page. This is like the most common use case. It could be used like in our case, like to be a trigger that, hey, we are right about to leave the current road and navigate to the next one, but we already have the router events, right? And we can use the navigation start event to understand that we are right about to navigate. I would recommend going with router event if you have one single logic, and to make the updates based on like certain router events. It will be much easier rather than utilizing guard. The guard could be utilized in specific cases, like let's say you have a guard that checks for any forms that's present on the page. Then it checks whether a user has input something and tries to leave the page. I guess we all agree that's not all parts of the application have forms, right? And it could appear in several cases. Thus, there is no need to add the guard with deactivate to all of the pages, but rather than to specific routes. So, are there any simple boilerplate solutions to provide feedback for the user when they attempt to navigate to a protected road? Well, yeah, you can utilize the guards for checks, and in case if a user tries to navigate to a protected road, so you could do any logic on the guard level, but I'm not sure what could be the use cases when you would like to let the user know he's entering the protected. So in most variants, we're building a seamless experience for the users, and basically he shouldn't know about any other specifics that could distract him for entering some points of the application, right? So for me, it's quite hard to come up with the ideas where it could be useful. Okay, I believe this part is clear. Then there is like also the second part of the question. The documentation recommends using signal inputs outputs instead of decorators. Is this motivated only by the upcoming abandonment of Zone.js? Because in theory, without zoneless, it will not give a performance boost. It could be other reasons. Thanks again. Yeah, that's also a good one. And to answer the question, yeah, I need also to cover a few words about the change detection mechanism overall. So the short answer will be yes and no, because yeah, signals are the primitives that like also intended to work without the Zone.js, right? But this is not only the reason. Even if your app still runs Zone.js, you could still benefit from the signals in terms of optimizations. And to have more detailed answer on this question, I would like to refer to some key points about change detection. So first of all, when it comes to Zone.js, this is the wrapper, as you know, or maybe not know. I will leave the link for you to get to know more. In a few words, is a asynchronous wrapper that catches all the asynchronous operations like timers, promises, requests, DOM events, and so on. And whenever something asynchronous happens on the page, it triggers the change detection. So change detection is a mechanism that, so maybe I'll refer here, that allow Angular to understand at which point the component should be updated or re-rendered. Like if we take a look at the source code and for instance, we have the reference to a signal, right? Or to any other variable. Like whenever you do the interpolation and change the state in your app component, so basically you will see the updated value in your template. This is possible because of change detection. So by default, the default strategy for change detection is capture any asynchronous events and run the change detection cycle, which goes traverses the tree of your components, where the root of your tree will be app component or your other entry point, and depending on how you organize your component structure, the tree will be bigger. So Angular traverses over the entire tree whenever the change detection triggers the cycle to check whether it needs to be updated. So it marks the components for checking, and it triggers re-rendering. So by default, it occurs both when the state is changing and whenever something asynchronous happens on the page. On the other hand, there is a change detection strategy called on-push, which was introduced quite long back in previous versions of Angular. What it does, basically, it limits the conditions when the change detection should run with the current component. So it tells Angular, do the change detection cycle only if the following input is changed. So we have only one input binding, which is data. So the data change triggers the change detection. All right, so we limit to our change detection trigger to the input changes. There is this is good optimization, but also there is one small optimizations that Signal brings to you. Basically, even with the on-push optimization, whenever something changes in the input binding, it marks the entire view of the component to re-render. So let's assume you don't have the one-line template, but you have quite complex template with lots of ng-fors, ng-ifs, and so on. Previously, even a tiny change inside the input binding will trigger the entire template to re-render. On the other hand, with the Signal, how it behaves. So the signals, as you know, also triggers the change detection cycle whenever the new value has been pushed to the signal. However, there is the difference. So first of all, if you remember from the directives module, especially how the structural directive work, it creates the embedded view. The embedded view means that's this directive produced ng template. So basically, this is the element that which is not directly rendered in the DOM. So basically, it is not rendered in the DOM, but you can use this template in order to render them later. And whenever you do like the ngIf, for instance, yeah, it creates the embedded template. So why I just recalled about the structural directives is because they produce the new embedded template, like ngIf, ng4, or if you create your own ng template, it also creates the embedded view. And the thing is, with signals, when you utilize the signals, the re-rendering will occur only on the embedded level. So let's assume you use the signal with ng4 or with ngIf. Only this part will be refreshed because the signal approach works on the other level of granularity of the components. Like if we compare with the approach that was used previously. So basically, yeah, summing up on what I've already answered, yeah, the zoneless application is one of the benefits of using the signals, but not the only one. There were also other benefits of using signals, and also I wanted to showcase one of them. Not sure if you already encountered this, but whenever you use the on-push change detection strategy in order to optimize the change detection nodes being traversed over the cycles, you'll encounter this problem. Let's assume that you have the input parameter for some data, and you would like to have some mapped data to be presented on your template. Let's assume that. So this parameter will not be shown in the template, but rather we would use this data, this map data. Let's assume this case. What will happen when we add on push? Let's assume that we call some function and get the map data on init. This will work fine because it's been invoked like after the first ng-on changes, which resolves your inputs, right? If you remember correctly. Then it goes ng-on init, and at this point we already know that this will be the first change that will trigger the change detection. However, if you have some other function that will change this map data outside of your lifecycle hooks, then this change will not trigger the re-rendering because with on-push change detection strategy, to listen only to this data change. And in order to fix that, let's say, we need to inject the change detector ref dependency. So it equals cdr, so it's change detector ref. So we need like to inject this from the core and change detector ref. So you need to introduce this dependency and do the following thing. So basically, in our case, it will be mark for check. So only in this case, we will ensure that the view will be updated. If the change data will be invoked somewhere in the code or by a template, so if you make the changes to the data which are not the input bindings, then you could encounter the problem with on-push. On the other hand, if you will utilize signals, you would not need to like control manually this step with marking the changes for your data. It will be already handled by the signal. So that's why it is encountered to use signals for these cases, like when you have the state for your representation component. So this is the perfect use case for signals. Uh, okay, so hope I answered all of the questions, Evgeny. Thank you so much for bringing them. Those ones are great one. And right after our session, I will leave all the links with the references I used to explain, right? And I hope it is clear and it is answered. Um, okay, so meantime, I was like explaining, no other questions so far. Then I would dedicate a little time um, to ask a question for you, since we have like the first part of coding task, the deadline coming this week. Thus, I would like to have the feedback from you whether it is feasible to meet the deadline, or if you experience the problems to or issues with completing the task. Let's see how it goes for you, because I do aware that in some cases uh, the requirements could be quite complex to implement. So then I would like encouraging you to let me know in case if you see the requirements being too complex for implementing within the given deadlines. Please let me know directly, private or tagging. We will see what we can do. And also a little announcement that we are currently reviewing the part two of Smart Home UI, which will be presented to you next week. However, it's already has like the first so-called release candidate, let's say, which covers several the topics for from this week, and also it will cover a part of RxJS and HTTP. So if you are curious, you can find a pull request here in the tasks repository with the part two of Angular Smart Home UI. Just to have a quick look, not necessarily now, but in case if you are curious. Anyways, I'm going to present it within our next session. That's probably all the news I have for you for today. Since like no other questions being asked in the chat, I will give you several more minutes to come up with some ideas or something that you would like to ask me. I'll wait you for some moment, since I don't see anything else in like both chats or YouTube. So I'll give you the time like to think of maybe you have something else you would like to ask me. So please feel free to chat. Okay, just in case, let's probably time box this, and take a moment till 1740 for you to have the questions. Otherwise, if or maybe like 41, 42, for you to come up with questions in case if nothing will be asked in the chat, then I believe we should be good to close. Okay, just giving another chance, a last minute chance for you to ask anything else. Already made it like in almost 40 minutes. It was a good question asked, and I hope that session was useful to you. Just a quick reminder, if you would like to pay my special attention to your case, ping me directly. Otherwise, the rest of the coordinators could help you to resolve the case, right? Especially if you have the problems with meeting the deadline because of the too complex requirements. I would firstly recommend talking to mentors to justify that in this place, like you see, the requirements are too complex to meet the current deadline, and if you see it is the case, then please let me know, because this is the first time we present this task to all of you. So there might be some imbalanced requirements. But anyways, just let me know how it goes, whether it goes well, and uh, let me know in case of any issues. So the next part of the coding assignment will be available starting from the next week. Just in case, a few words. At the current moment, the few more steps like to complete the backend. For now, you can take a look and scan through the contract. It will be the same, and for one of the endpoints, we will keep the same structure as we are doing with mock.json with the part one. So it's just if you're curious to take a look through. All right, so looks like we have no more questions for today. Thank you so much for your attention. Thank you for question, Evgeny. I would encounter then you to use our next thread for our next session in a week. We'll be meeting you at the same time. And just in case, if you feel that the time is not convenient for you, and please pass this to other students as well. Also, let me know. We can either postpone or prepone to earlier or to later. If you see this time is not quite convenient for you, I'm free to all of the suggestions. For today, I think we're good then to wrap it up. Again, thank you for your attention. Have a great rest of the day, and good luck with your future steps. So see you in a week.